you're going to need to download a couple of software programs that I actually have already downloaded, but I'm going to show you where to go to get them. The first is iTunes. So if we open up Internet Explorer, and we just type in www.itunes.com, this brings up Apple's website for you to download iTunes, and we're going to download iTunes 10, and over here is where you can download it. So you want to download iTunes and install it, and then you're also going to want to download Firefox, which is a web browser. So once again, in Internet Explorer, you go to firefox.com, and right there's your Firefox download. And then lastly, you're going to want to download this program called Audacity, which is right here, audacity.sourceforge.net/download/windows. And you can see that in the address bar right there. And you're going to want to download this file right here, the installer, and you're going to want to install that, as well as this file down here, the lame MP3 encoder. So you're going to want to download both of those, and I'll show you why further along in the demonstration. Okay? Now, I have already put the CD from the Sunday's worship service in my computer. You're going to want to make sure you get the CD of the 9:30 service for the Sunday that you're trying to rip, or if you can't find the 9:30 service, the 8:15 or the 11 will be just as fine. Jack normally preaches pretty similar sermons, not exact, but close enough for the purposes of what we're doing. So the first thing we're going to want to do is rip this CD to our computer, and we're going to use iTunes to do that. So let's open up iTunes, and iTunes will come up. And right now we see it's accessing a music database to try and find the files, and here is our sermon. So we're going to play it and make sure that that is our sermon. And normally it's the largest track on the CD. Oh, hold on one second. I don't have audio turned on in this virtual machine. There we go. Let's try that again.
Please be seated. Orchestra, you really outdid yourself today. Way to go. Loved it.
All right, so this is the start of the sermon. Although he hasn't quite gotten into the sermon yet, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And then this should end with him praying.
Full circle. Is the Lord your shepherd? I want it. Let's stand and sing number 136.
All right, so that's the end of the sermon. Now we're going to take this file, whoops, pause. We're going to take just this file, track 7, and we're going to rename it. So we'll give it the date, I believe this was the 31st, and then the sermon title, which was Psalm 23. So you see that's our format. We do month, day, year, sermon title, and then the artist is the pastor who gave the sermon, which in this case was Dr. Jack Stevenson. And then the album is, and here in the album we put Anona and then the year, 2010. So that as you continue doing this, if you become the person who is lucky enough to do this all the time, you will have a quick way to see all the sermons from a given year. So we just want to import this one file. So we're going to uncheck the other 9 or the other 8 files on here. We're unchecking them, unchecking. All right, so there's the one for the 7th. We're going to go to our import settings. And here's something cool we're going to do. We're going to go to, here we go. We're going to go to MP3 encoder right here. And we're going to go to custom. We're actually going to drop our bit rate all the way down to 32. And you're going, but wait, it's going to sound really bad. But actually, since it's just spoken voice, we can get away with a lower bit rate than we could with a regular audio file like a song. The human voice doesn't use nearly as much of the frequency range as a good recorded piece of music does, so we can get away with less quality. And we get smaller file sizes, and it's easier for people to download and share. So we're going to drop it to 32 kilobytes, and we're going to click OK, and OK. And then we're going to take this one file here, and we're going to import it. So we click Import, and it starts importing it. And this is going to take a while, so I'm going to pause the video and get back to you guys when it finishes. Alright guys, we're back, and as you can see, the file has finished ripping, and now here it is in our library. So we're going to take this file and drag it to our desktop. And this is a quick and easy way to kind of get it out of iTunes and get it into an editable format. And now we can close iTunes. Well, actually, we'll leave iTunes open because we'll use it to check our podcast. But we'll minimize iTunes for the time being. We'll go over and open up Audacity right here. And before we get too far into this, we need to rename our file down here. So when we rename these files, we want to name them what the sermon title was. In this case, it's Psalm 23. But wherever we're going to put a space, we need to do instead an underscore, which you do by holding the Shift key and hitting the dash button, which puts an underscore in. And then you type the next word. So this, in this case, Psalm underscore 23 is the name of that sermon. And we're going to open that with Audacity. So File, Open, Psalm23.mp3. And here is our audio file. And this is one of the cool things about Audacity. It actually shows you the sound waves. And so you can quickly look at this and go, oh, wow, okay, and kind of know what this file looks like if you're more of an audio type person. And what we want to do is we want to get just the sermon. So we're going to listen to the very beginning of this thing and get it just where he starts the sermon.
Hey, way to go.
See, right now he's just kind of lifting up the orchestra, but pretty soon he's going to hop right into Psalm 23.
Hey, way to go. Loved it. It was wonderful. And Dr. Corey Hall, I got to tell you, the toccata was awesome. I guess our organ passed the test. I'm glad. It was mostly digital, but I think we heard some of the real pipe in that because I felt the floor moving up here. It's nice to feel the floor moving. Now, do you move into, would that move into the fugue if you kept playing? Oh, good, because I was missing that big muscly piece that goes into it. Cool.
See.
Well, and it's wonderful to have Pam and Ed Qualls back worshiping with us. Pam is working with the district to pull all the churches together and cooperate.
So, see, there's a lot of talking.
You're in pretty much a different church every Sunday, aren't you? So welcome home. It's good to see you guys when you can come home to Winona. It's wonderful to have you. And on such an orchestra Sunday, way to go, team. I want to walk through.
Okay. So, we basically are going to cut 1.5 minutes off the front of this sermon, all right? So let's zoom in with the zoom in button right here. And you see where this little green arrow is? That's pointing at where the last place was that we were listening. So that's right where the sermon starts. So we're going to touch our cursor right here, right before that point, okay? And we're going to go up to Edit, Select, Start to Cursor. Selects everything from our cursor point forward or backwards, and then we're going to hit the delete button. Or we're going to go to edit. We're going to go to edit. Oh, sorry, you just got to see me kind of learn this program a little bit more. All I did when I stopped that file was I paused it. But you see how the pause button and the play button are both pressed? Well, we're going to want to make sure we hit stop. Now once we hit stop, that green arrow goes away, but it affords us the ability to actually edit the file. So now we're going to select all that goodness and go to Edit, Delete. There we go.
I want to walk through.
And now the sermon starts just with Jack start talking through the actual sermon bit. So now we're ready to pull over to the other side of the sermon, the end, and get the end of the sermon. So let's give that a listen. We'll start right about here.
Yes, bring mercy into every
Good.
room in which.
So if you get the end of the sermon and Jack starts praying, you're doing pretty good.
Then why am I wanting? Let's stand and sing number 136.
Okay, so the sermon ends right here, and then he transitions into the hymn. I don't like to leave that hymn transition in on the end, so we're just going to select that part and delete it as well. And so we'll go into Edit, Delete, and knock out that little bit. So now we've taken both ends off of the sermon. So we've got the sermon done. Now, if this sermon had more high peaks in the audio files, like up in this range and that kind of stuff, we'd want to compress the file. And to do that, we'd go to Effect, Compressor. We'd actually select the whole file. So Edit, Select All, and then Effect, Compressor. And we'd compress the file a little bit to get rid of those high points. But instead of doing that, for this one, since it's so low, we're actually going to boost the gain. So we can go in here and go to Amplify. We're just going to amplify it just about 1 dB. And watch what that does to the file. Well, maybe we need to bring it down a little bit. There we go, 0.4. Let's click OK on that one and see what happens. Okay, let's try that again. You guys are getting me kind of troubleshooting on this video, but that's okay. We all need to learn. So, amplify. Let's bring it up to what we want, which is more like 1.5 or 6 dB, whatever. We'll go with that. It's not letting us click OK because we haven't set it to allow clipping. Some of this is going to clip, but that's okay. So we're going to click OK. There we go. And now we got a little bit of a bigger file that's going to sound a little bit louder and a little bit fuller for the people who are listening to it. And I guess we got this one little clip point right in here.
Your family.
Something happened with his mic. It's all good though. We've got the file looking pretty good at this point. So now we're ready to save it. So we're going to go to File, Export as MP3, and we're going to export it as an MP3. But first, we need to do something else. We need to go to Edit, Preferences, File Formats, and put in our MP3 plugin because we want to change the bit rate of our MP3, and we can't do that until we install the plugin. But we already downloaded and installed the plugin, so we just need to locate it. So do we want to locate this? Yes, we do. And the file is located under My Computer, C Drive, Program Files, Lame for Audacity. And there's that file. We click OK. Now we can change our bit rate and drop it down to the 32 that we want. And then we click OK. Now we go to File, Export as MP3, Psalm 23, Save, and we want to replace it. And now it's going to export the file. Alright, and our file is exported. We're done with Audacity now. We can close Audacity. We don't need to save the changes. And we've got our MP3 right here. So now we're done with part 1 of this project, and we're